Okay, this is a quick look at the RackRoller kit and what you're going to get. Basically, the idea is you can have them arranged in different fashions so that you can share a single roller between two spools. So we're calling that the double roller configuration. And then for the ends, or if you just want to do a single set that clips on to your rack stand or your rep box configuration, you can do them this way as well. You've got enough panels in your kit, so your kit will come with the following stuff. You've got the panels cut enough to do 5 rolls if you're using the shared double rollers. Okay, you've got 20 bearings, all your 3D printed parts, and all the fasteners that you need. So we're going to start with how to do a single roller assembly. For a single roller, you're going to start by peeling off the acrylic film on your cut pieces, and it's on both sides. It's that easy. Peel that off and toss that in the trash. And we're going to get 2 of them, so I've already peeled them off of these 2. Okay, and you're going to end up separating your printed parts kit, so you're going to come out with the following. So you're going to have some washers, you're going to have the end spacer, you're going to have these double ones, and you're going to have these different length axle pieces. Just to give you a length, there's a long axle and a short axle. So we only need the short axles for these, and you're going to tear apart from your printed parts kits. Just tear off what you need. You should have plenty. So we need enough to have 4 of the washers, 2 of the short axles, 2 of the washers that end up as part of the end cap, so that just basically holds on the end of the screws, so you can pull those off and put them on the end of your screws like that. Okay, you're going to need 2 bearings. And all we do is the following. You take one of these acrylic sides. You're going to press in. Oops. I'm going to press in the axle from the back side. You'll see it catches on the flange. Okay, hold it in with your finger. Same thing. I'm going to do it here. Now the configuration I'm going for here is the wider stance. There's holes here as well if you wanted to take a narrower stance. So if you wanted to do it for a smaller spool, for example, you can just move the bearings to the inside, and they'll position so that they don't collide with your slip rod if you're putting them on your rack stand. Okay, so we're going to lay that flat. Once we've got the axles on there, we're going to take the spacers. This is important. Make sure you got a spacer always in between your bearings. Go over top of the axle next. Okay. And if you don't have that spacer in there, the bearing is going to rub on the acrylic piece. So you can see you're always going to have a washer or spacer in between. We're going to do the same thing on this side, just goes over the top and just provides a little bit of a gap between the top layer. Okay, and then we're going to lay the top piece on like so. And then we've got our washer on our thread forming screw. We're going to put it right on there. You can kind of start it in place with your finger and then just get a Phillips screwdriver and really easily twist it in there. You'll see it'll actually pull that spacer into the hole. That is totally fine. That's going to hold it all together nice and tight. And we're going to do the second one. And I'll give you a close-up with my hands aren't in the way. And that's that. And you should be able to see if you have your screwdriver in there, your bearing should spin freely because you've got a spacer on both sides there. So it rolls nice and smooth. That's a single roller setup. So like I said, you can just do 2 of those and have a spool sit on top of it like this when it's mounted on your rack or on the rods. Makes it spin nice and freely. Okay, and if we're going to do a shared setup where we have one of the doubles in the middle, I'll show you how to do a double build now. Again, we only need 2 of the acrylic pieces. Okay, we can peel off the protective film so it's nice and clear, looks good. Here's one I've already done, so you're not watching me just peel off acrylic film. Oops. Okay. Now for this, we're going to use the longer axles. Okay, so same thing as before, we're going to break off these little pieces, and I'll show you what to do with the butterfly pieces next. Okay, so I've got 2 long axles, and if these little gates or runners bother you, you can just get a pair of flush cutters or pliers or scissors even. You could probably even break it off with your fingernail, but they're not going to mess with anything. Doesn't matter. We're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to press them through from underneath. Okay, so the axle goes through there, catches, you push it all the way until, and you may notice with this acrylic that one side is tighter than the other. That's totally normal and fine. There's kind of a direction to it because when you laser cut acrylic, the beam deflects a little bit through. It acts like a prism of sorts, so you'll find it's easier to push through, but it won't even hold in as well. So if you go from the other side, you can see it actually holds a little better that way. Totally normal, it doesn't matter, it can go either way. They're symmetrical, so you really can't screw it up. Same thing, we're always going to add a little spacer in between our bearing. Spacer, spacer. So we're just doing the same thing as before, but we're basically doubling it up. I'll take my bearings out of the little case. Like I said, you should have 2 sleeves. There'll be 20 of these. These are just a standard 608 bearing. Great for all kinds of different projects. So if you want to make more of these, there's also a printable version of these on printables. So again, spacer, bearing. Now for this middle piece, we're going to take this little butterfly looking thing and you're just going to fold it in half. And it's fine. See how it kind of looks like a little taco? That's normal. There's a keyhole to this that fits right over our axle that kind of holds it upright. And all that does is just creates a little bit of separation so that when you're putting 2 spools next to each other, it keeps it from falling into the gap between the bearings. So we're going to do that, and that's acting. It's already got an integrated washer printed into it, so you don't need to put another washer in there. Okay, we just add our outer one. And again, if these little pieces are bothering you, you can just scrape it off with your fingernail or grab a pair of scissors or flush cutters. No big deal. And same thing with the other side. I've got one more butterfly piece I'm breaking off my printed part set here. And again, you'll see it won't rotate. I'm going to get you a close up there. It's just kind of a keyhole. Pushes right on there. The same cutout pattern as in the acrylic. Okay, so that's in the middle. One more bearing. One more washer, spacer. And then our top piece. And what you'll notice, I'm going to hold this up close so you can see, the axle is not supposed to push all the way through, but it should rest in that hole. So you should have a little bit of a gap that indexes the whole thing and holds its center so that when we add, oops, get my little sandwich back together here, so that when we add, redo that, the top screw and washer, it is centered in the right place. And we've got 2 of our screws here out of our screw pack. And here's 2 of the